2.
Hello. Welcome to the live stream. I can see myself on the wall this time, so I know that we're live. See, I don't even need to ask you. I am Brandon. This is Wesley. We are your authors for the evening. Yep. First thing that Adam would like us to do is check and have you tell us how the sound is. Because last time we had the clicking noise. We think we've gotten rid of that. We hope we've gotten rid of that. If we have, that's good. But we also are worried that the sound is a little low. We've been trying to do things to make it more audible. So we hope that we fix that. So let us know in the comments how the sound is. Wes, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you for coming to my live stream.
Thank you for having me.
This is my good friend Wesley Chu.
It's my first time at the Cosmere House.
Yes.
I've received a lot of questions about the Elantris room.
Yes, because there was a somewhat infamous article that mentioned how nice the suite was.
Yes.
Wes is a fantastic writer of various things.
Thank you, sir.
He has a book out that you can see behind him. Yeah, you can see it behind him. This is what, your 11th novel?
My 12th
novel.
I think my 13th is coming out this September. I hit my 10-year anniversary just like last month.
And Wes has done writing excuses with us, but also Wes and I went to junior high together briefly for 1 year or one semester.
One semester, seventh grade.
One semester, seventh grade.
Back in 1988.
Yep. So there we are.
Did I ever tell you about my writing excuses? What happened that year?
No, go ahead.
No, we usually shoot like the entire episode.
we were in Chicago
in like 2 days, right?
Yeah,
and we were at the Cards Against Humanity's.
Yes, yeah, we were. They had a nice studio.
Yes, they did
for filming.
I didn't remember anything from those episodes, and the reason why is because that morning, we were doing a marathon shooting session, and I drank like some iced coffee from like their fridge, right? At some point during that day, I felt like I was floating. It was really weird. And then I forgot everything from the entire weekend. And here's what I learned later on. That big jug of iced coffee I drank wasn't iced coffee. It was iced coffee concentrate. I literally drank in like a 32-ounce glass of iced coffee concentrate. So at one point, I was like clinging. I don't know if you noticed, but I was clinging on to the table because I felt I was floating away.
Do you remember dinner? We went to
the Thai restaurant. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I recovered by then. That was like 9 hours later. But,
because that was a really nice dinner.
It was.
Yeah.
That's when we realized that we were, Lincoln,
Nebraska.
Nebraska. Yeah.
Yep. So we have got a bunch of questions on Reddit that we're going to do. We also have these little card things that you can see that are green. What happened is Wes is only out here for a couple of days. And Wes, you were a former professional Magic player.
I played Magic at a relatively high level very early on, like 30 years ago.
Yeah, right during the early years of the Pro Tour.
Back when each card did like one thing.
Yes.
I played at Jordan Con at a draft tournament. My first time playing a draft tournament in like probably 20 years. So there's so many like new rules that I didn't know about. So there's so much text now.
The cards are little. They've gotten a little complicated. A lot of
just
them
are
two-sided and things like that, right?
I saw my first two-sided battle card, and I was like, "What the heck is this?"
So I thought it would be fun. I have a cube, which is a curated stack of cards that we draft, my friends and I. It is my favorite cards, and it is designed to my specifications. They are no cards really that I've made up, but they are actual cards, but I put them together, you draft them as a set. And Wes had never done this before, so he wanted to play some Magic with me.
I did.
And so I said, well, we could do sealed deck, and then we hit on the dumb idea to do sealed deck out of the cube, which I've never done before in my life. I hit on this, it wasn't your idea.
Okay.
And I thought, well, we'll open the packs on stream, and then, that might be an interesting experience for you to periodically open up a pack of Magic cards from my cube and see what's in it. And then after the stream, we'll build decks. Maybe we'll record it and we'll play.
We'll go at it a
game
couple
or
times
so
and see what
against
happens.
each other.
Yeah. I mean, I was like exploring like the Cosmere house, and there's a lot of magic cards all over the place.
Yes.
It's amazing. Like you open the kitchen cabinet and there's magic cards.
It's one of the places that we store them because we have our draft tournaments for my company. We have them here,
Right.
And so that's where we store all the cards, right above the coffee machine, right?
But I found some Thallid cards, like, and those were from like Fallen Empire. 30 years ago.
Yes.
And I was like, what is going on? Why are you making...
Yeah, yes, why do you have these?
Why are you making a deck from like the worst expansion of Magic?
And I said, well, I want to build a cube of just Fallen Empires, maybe Homelands cards.
Oh my God, Homelands, yes.
I think it would be fun to have to play those cards. But I'm not finished with that one yet. You won't see many of those in here. There are a couple.
All right.
In my cube.
Let's go.
So do you want to do a question first or a pack first?
Let's do a question first.
Okay.
This is a question, and I hadn't done an audio check of myself, so let me know how I sound, everybody. But a question that I expected to be receiving, and I told Wes about it earlier. They want to know how the shower is.
Okay. The Elantris room shower is magnificent. I think that's what the Wired individual said. And there's 4 small shower heads on one side and 1 tall one on the left, and then there's 1 tall one in front of you. The thing about the shower head though is that you can only turn one or the other. So when the big facing shower head comes down at you from this side, I'm facing that shower, but then the small ones are hitting my sides. So I wasn't sure which way to turn when I took a shower. But it's very nice. It's very spacious.
We didn't put that in. We bought this house, and it came with the shower.
Okay,
so.
that's fair. But like one person on the internet asked me, how is the Elantris room like? And I'm just like, I feel like a lost princess who writes in a diary.
Now, the room was designed and decorated by Adam's wife, Jane, and my wife, Emily, who both enjoy that sort of thing. And so they put together a very nice room.
I mean, it is a very nice best bedroom and bathroom. Yeah.
It's definitely staying in it. We wanted to feel like staying in the royal suite.
Yes, it was very much a royal suite stay.
Wes actually had a wonderful descriptor about the suite earlier that I just think he should share to everyone if you remember it.
What did I?
It was the princess one.
Oh yeah. I said that.
He said that.
Oh, did he? Okay,
yeah.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm reading chat at the same time, so I apologize.
So, question. Here's like 2 or 3, and then we'll do a pack.
Okay.
Yeah. What tropes do you guys like to read the most?
I mean, I am obviously a sucker. I've said this before for Thief with a Heart of Gold, right? Like, I'm very, very in for that.
All right. I love the master-student relationship.
Oh yeah.
I mean, in this case, I like kind of flipping it. It's either the master's a woman, so it's not quite the same as what you usually see, or just like, or maybe they're both incompetent. But I love that dynamic of having the master and student and having them just kind of like run through the story, looking at things from different viewpoints.
Yeah.
Okay, this next one is from Badzar62. Hey guys, as veteran dads, what's your best parenting advice?
Oh boy, best parenting advice. It's gonna depend on the age of the kids. Your parenting changes a lot more, and it changes so much based on the kid, right?
Yeah, I mean every kid's a little different, and like I have a kid who's basically 4 and 7 now. The 2 kids are 4 and 7, and like I don't know. I mean I would say. Be their best friend. Yeah,
find out what they like and meet them on that ground.
Meet them on that ground because then when there are times when you need to have that hard conversation about other things that they don't want to talk about, then they'll be more receptive towards, to listening to you, to following your advice, to doing what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, I wanted my kids, they have never loved the books I want them to love. Right? Like, I'm like, we're going to read The Hobbit. No, bored out of their skulls. We're going to read Narnia. No, not going to do that. What about this? No. But so instead I let them find a book series, and then I found out as much as I could about the book series and asked them about it and talked to them about it. Just go the other way around.
Yeah. I mean, when I was a kid, and I first moved to this country, my father was an English professor, and he wanted me to read books to learn English, and he took me to the university bookstore, And he was like, let's read some Beowulf or something,
Right.
And I was like 5. I was like 6.
Beowulf.
In
the
it was like
original
Romeo and
Old
Juliet,
English.
whatever.
Yeah.
But instead, like I ran to the section that had like, the dragons and a magical shiny swords, and that's how I learned to read, because I read what I wanted to read, and it really made all the difference because it made me a voracious reader.
Shall we open one of these packs?
Let's do it.
All right.
So how does this work?
So this is I've cultivated this. My cube's 600 cards. They're called cubes because they originally were 360 cards, but mine's 600 cards. They're my favorite cards, but it's weird. You just pick one. I randomly made some packs. You saw me do it.
Okay.
And normally we will open these and draft them. But we're going to open these, and then we'll build sealed decks out of them. So I just put the green on them so they'd show up a little better. And so you can open it and see what's in your pack. I will lay mine out. Now, the weird thing about my cube is...
Wait, now, when you say I lay them out and make cards, do I make one deck out of all of these?
You will, yeah. So
Okay.
what you will do is you'll take all of these cards, and you will then, afterward... you will make a 40-card deck, which we won't do on stream.
I have never seen any of these cards before in my life. What? Ooh, this one's signed.
Yeah, no, that one's even better. Look on the back of that one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
What's this? It's like an extra bonus card.
Well, what it is I had the artist here. Well, is that thing working? Yeah. We have an overhead shot. Okay, yeah, we have the overhead shot. So pass that over to me. So this is this awesome card that I had Jeff Miracola. He is a wonderful magic artist. He's done a ton of cards for many, many years. He was at one of the magic events, the Magic Summit, and so I asked him to do a painting of another card that he'd done on the back. And so then we play it as a double-faced card, where it's either a Thought Scour or an Unearth. And that's why this thing's in there with it. You said the bonus card. It just tells you what it is.
Okay.
Because this one, he did this beautiful painting, but it's not you can't tell what it is because you didn't put text on it, because why would you cover up this beautiful painting with text? And so I put this little guy.
That's very thoughtful of you.
You get it. You can either have it's either a Thought Scour or it's an Unearth.
Is the Thought Scour a good card?
Both of these are just kind of role players. Thought Scour is like a mill card, but you're usually gonna mill yourself. And then Unearth is get a creature out of your graveyard, a small one.
So do I do like a regular draft where I just pick one card and we?
Nope. This you're just looking at these and you'll be able to have all of these. Is there anything else you got really cool over there? You got all kinds of stuff. What did I get? So what do I have that's cool here? I've got Gristlebrand. Gristlebrand's always fun.
I think I have to go basic just so I could.
Flying, lifelink, pay 7 life, draw 7 cards. Maelstrom Wanderer. So, you guys may be wondering, why is Maelstrom Wanderer in my cube? Well, once I started having these illustrators do paintings on the backs of cards, I decided to start playtesting my own double-faced cards. So, you can see that a lot of these have a little thing at the bottom of it. I don't know if you can see that says at the bottom, Plunder. So, I picked a card by the same artist, and then I put it on the back. And the idea being that someday I would like to have this illustrator with an artist proof do a painting of Plunder on the back, and then I'll play it as a double-faced card, and so we're testing it out. Plunder has Suspend, and anyone who knows what Suspend does means you can play either side after it's suspended. So you can get a Maelstrom Wanderer with Suspend 4. That doesn't mean anything to you, Wes. But those watching who know Magic might think that's really cool. Here, Platinum Angel. You ever seen a Platinum Angel?
No.
That's a fun card. So it's just a you cannot lose the game card, which is always
So
amusing.
if I put like a protection card on it,
Yeah, then you just
well, what if I run out of cards?
then you can't lose the game. What if both of you have one of them out and neither one can remove them? Then you have to tie.
Right.
So yeah, there you are.
All right. So out of all these cards, I would just pick a few out.
No, you'll just keep them all, and then afterward you'll build. So we should send yours, put yours in a pile,
Okay.
and send them over to me, and I'll lay them out so people can see what you're going to be building out of. I don't know if there's anything yet that you would be like, oh, I'm going to build around this or whatnot. But eventually, you'll have to figure out what deck you're going to make out of these.
One of the cards there has a 13 mana casting cost.
Yes, it does. But channel, you might get channel. That's there for channel. You know channel. That's
channel.
Yeah. So you can just channel that bad boy out. So here is what Wes opened. Looks like you've got a nice little Delver deck you could build here, because you've got Consider and Delver of Secrets.
Yep.
You've got Thought Scour. You've got Crack the Earth. So you got the starts of a little Delver deck going on. You also have the start of some sort of channel deck going on that you could build some sort of thing with these guys where you're going to try to cheat them out, but you don't have any fast mana.
So let me ask you this: so
I guess
do you make these cards in this cube? Do you curate these cards based off of like some of these archetypes that you're looking at?
I try to curate them based on archetypes. So I support like a Delver deck, and Delver, you wouldn't know what it is, but it's like little blue-red spells. So little blue creatures and red creatures and spells.
Like a mono red or white, or
like a mono red, but with some blue counterspell tempo stuff in it. So blue red Delver is a classic these days. Plays really well in Legacy, and even it's not top tier in Vintage, but you see it. That's just like my blue counter spells and my red burn spells and my little blue and red creatures go.
Right.
So
okay.
So there you go.
I appreciate the tip.
You got the start of that going on there. I don't know what I have the start of. I'd have to look back through.
Should we do another question?
Let's do another question. Yeah.
This next question is from Lotus the Blooming. What part of writing do you find you struggle with the most, and what is your favorite type of thing to write?
Struggle with the most. That's interesting, because struggle is like a difficult. It's a good question.
It's a very abstract.
It's an abstract. Yeah. Oftentimes, one of the things I struggle with is I'm writing this really. I'm writing, and I get lost in the things I need to achieve for the scene, and I have to back up and be like, no, what makes this scene interesting? What makes it exciting? Why do we want to be there? There's this danger when you have a grand master plan for things like I do, of just white rooms full of people talking, right? And people talking is the bulk of most stories, right? But you want these stories and the people talking to be interesting and engaging, and the setting to be relevant. It's like step back, Brandon. Say, why is this scene interesting, rather than making this scene a cog for some later interesting scene.
Right. I mean, it has to be layered, in terms of, and like almost every scene in every book needs to do like multiple. They need to like do multiple jobs. So like, I mean, for me, I enjoy, like, I'm an action guy. And over the years, as I do action, I always make sure that action has to be layered, because otherwise, action for action's sake is boring. So action has to do world building, it has to do character development, it has to move the plot along. You need to do all these different things. The thing I struggle with the most is more like from a top level. Is like you spend the first 60-70% of your book, asking questions, laying things out, setting things up. And at one point, around 70% or wherever you're at in the book, you need to stop asking questions, and you start answering them. And that transition, knowing when to do it, and also doing it in a way that's like fluid, is incredibly difficult.
Okay. Oh, trying to multitask. This next question is from Cosmere Girl. She says, what are your thoughts on including prophecies in your stories? Are there certain things that are difficult or fun about using them? Any advice for using them?
I mean, a prophecy is just a tool that pushes the plot along. The book, my newest book is called The Art of Prophecy, and it's basically a book about prophecy that's gone wrong, a prophecy that fails. It's not really a spoiler. So like in the prophecy of this book, there's a chosen one. It's a very common trope. Chosen one who will defeat the evil bad guy. But in this case, the evil bad guy suddenly keels over and dies in the third chapter. Okay, and the book is about the aftermath of that prophecy. Like, what happens now that you're the chosen one without a destiny? What happens to the politics of the world around it who build these things? So really, in this case, the prophecy is just the setup for the story. So I mean, and really, it's a tool that fantasy writers use all the time, and it all depends on how you kind of leverage it for that story.
Man, that just gave me. I'm gonna have to bring this up to Dan on my podcast. Bad story idea.
Ouch.
No, not yours. I thought of one.
Okay.
On my podcast, we do this thing where I come up with bad story ideas and then we joke about them. I wonder, like someone who's said the chosen one that they're going to defeat the evil whatever, and then the reason is that they accidentally serve the bad guy like peanuts at dinner, like, and it kills him because of his peanut allergy. That's that you were chosen not to go on a big sword quest and things or Harry Potter magic. It's just like you're the one who will defeat the evil, and you're the serving.
Sometimes it's not about how it's done; it's just that you did it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. You find out that it's not what you're expecting.
I spent all these years training to fight this guy.
And then he just ate my sandwich because I brought sandwich with me.
I brought peanut butter.
I brought peanut butter on my sandwich. He had my sandwich. It killed him.
It was a mix-up. It was my sandwich. He ate my sandwich.
I think that's kind of fun.
I think it's great.
A cool twist, really. This next question is from Proper Insect 6987. My primary language is Spanish. Both of you have works translated, and I always have the question of how much the translation affects the original work. So, how much are you involved in a book translation process? Is there any criteria for translators need to be fulfilled in order to translate your works?
Sure. So for me, I think my experience is pretty typical in this regard. A lot of my experiences in writing aren't, but in this one, people bought my books, and I said, "That's great." And then the books came out in Spanish.
And you're like, "That's great."
That's great. And I'm like, I didn't even really know how it all happened. Early on, what happens is they license from you, and then they hire a translator. And we would like the translators all to have the time and the means to be in touch with us and things, but normally they really aren't.
Yeah.
They're used to translating. They probably have read a lot in English. They know the genre. And so they translate it. And I've met a lot of my translators on tour and stuff. They're always just fantastic.
Yeah.
They know their stuff. They know their genre. They know the books really well.
They have a strong grasp of the English language, so that when they do translate, they know how to use the right words, the right mannerisms, the right phonetics for it.
They'll come and talk to us and be like, "Oh, this scene was really hard to translate because of this and this and this with the culture. Here's what I did." And I'm always in awe. Right?
I mean, I have heard of some situations where a publisher at a certain country might not like a certain thing, so they try to strip the whole thing out, And I've heard of writers who pulled their translation rights back because of that. But for the most part, translators are professionals. They're really good at what they do, and they try to stay as loyal to the original text as possible.
Yeah. Puns are always a challenge.
Yeah.
Things like that.
I mean, like American humor is always hard to translate for certain languages and everything. It's just
As I've gotten more company members, we now have Peter on my editorial staff and his people. They reach out to the translators and are a resource in case the translators need things.
That's a really smart idea.
And once in a while, a question filters all the way to me, where they're like, "The translator asked this, and we had no idea what the answer is." It's stuff like, you're translating into Korean or Japanese, and you're like, we need to know if it's a younger brother or an older brother.
Right. That's fair.
To use the right word, which is it? Stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, English often has very inexact wording.
Yes.
So like there's so many ways. There's a whole structure in a lot of Asian languages about you are the third uncle who is over this age but married to his in-law, and there's a very specific name for who that person is.
You'll like this one. In my Skyward series, which is far future science fiction, where a lot of our heroes and things have been mythologized to the point that the primary texts have been lost, I have a character who constantly misquotes Sun Tzu.
That is amazing.
Art of War, because basically everything is Art of War. To like, if you go online, you're like quotes from Art of War, you will find everything. And so
I'll be back.
She constantly, yeah, I'll be back, Sun Tzu, right, and stuff like that. And so she misquotes Sun Tzu, and the Chinese translator's like, could we please change this to the right quote? It really, really bothers us that so few people know the right quotes.
Well, I mean, what are they gonna do? Are they gonna go back? Like, okay, we need to change the book because is that what's gonna have to happen if you know?
I let them change like one of those to just be like, all right, you could tell it brought them emotional pain that people don't actually quote.
That's fair. I'm sure Sun Tzu
gotta
for
be
them
one of
is
the
like,
most
like revered characters, and they're like, I draw the line at Seinfeld quotes.
Yeah. It's like Da Vinci and Sun Tzu have to be the most misquoted people, or misattributed, where everything's attributed to them.
I wonder if the Italians care.
Anyway, another question.
Yes, this one is from David Thor Moses for Wes. What are your books about? If someone wants to start reading them, where should they start?
Ooh. So I mean, I've written 12 books, so that's a lot of ground to cover. I would say this is a lot of my books are heavy on the action. They're comedic. I have a very thriller kind of writing style, and without trying to, I have been compared quite a bit to Brandon's in terms of like the way our writing
Magic
styles.
systems.
Yeah, magic systems, writing styles.
Yeah.
You know, we tend to. You know,
We're from that same generation.
Yeah.
Brent Weeks does the same thing.
Yeah, we trend towards fun.
Yeah.
So I would say that. So if you like fantasy, I would start with The Art of Prophecy, which is my newest series from Del Rey. If you like kind of urban fantasy / comedy thriller with aliens, The Lives of Tao, hard science fiction,
Which I have read, and it is fantastic. I
Thank
just
you.
had a blast the entire time.
Awesome, thank you. But like Time Salvager is my hard science fiction. I have a Walking Dead book. You know, that is from the guys of The Walking Dead, and I co-written 2 books with Cassandra Clare, based off of Magnus Bane, called The Eldest Curses. So there's a little bit of something for everybody, I feel like.
My pages are gone. Shall we open another pack?
Let's do
See what we got.
All right.
See
I
if
think
you
you
can
were looking for that excuse.
building. If you're gonna do, see, I'm getting all the lands. I've got a very.
Well, I mean, I assume I get unlimited.
you get
lands.
unlimited basics. You get unlimited basics.
All right.
So I have. What's interesting in here? Ooh, I have the ornithopters.
Hey, is that a Mox?
Oh, you got a Mox? Oh, you got Ruby. Mox Ruby
this-
over there.
Is this a signed Mox?
That's a signed beta Mox Ruby.
What is going on?
Yeah.
I had
so
two
pass that over there.
Power 9 sets, and I sold them when I graduated college.
2 full sets, eh? I mean, if you were playing on the Pro Tour, you probably had.
So angry about that. Like,
There's signed by Dan Frazier, Mox Ruby. I don't get like top quality ones. I don't get like graded top because I play with them, right? And so yeah.
every time I see like really like old awesome Magic cards that never get played, I mean, you gotta at least play them a little bit. It's like it's their purpose in life.
That would go in your Delver deck right there.
All right.
Now, one of the things you'll see is there's little dots at the bottom of some of these cards. I'll show up.
Oh, yeah, I see
up
it.
here. This means in my cube, you get 3 copies of it. 3 dots, 2 dots is 2 copies, 4 dots is 4 copies.
Okay.
So that you can actually build around some of these things.
It's basically you play it, then you could search your library for another one.
No. You just when you build your deck, you can put 3 copies in.
Got it.
When you draft it, it just makes decks a little more consistent. And most of my cube, there's only 1 of each thing. Oh, you got one of those. I'm going to show that off.
This guy?
Yeah, that guy.
What is that?
This is one of the most famous magic alterers in the world is Eric Klug or Klug. I haven't met him in person, but he is amazing. So what he does is he paints over magic cards.
Okay.
You hire him, or he does his own on eBay. And I'll hold this one up. So one of the things that he did once was he took a famous card, and he did it as an old monster movie poster, right? Like an old B movie poster. And I love that. So I went to him and I said, could you do that same style, but use sci-fi posters. And he's like, yeah, let's do it. So I commissioned 3 of these. There's 3 of these guys. They're called the Eldrazi Titans. And I took some famous movie posters of sci-fi. So I did Day the Earth Stood Still. I did Forbidden Planet. And I can't remember what this one is. I think this might be the Day the Earth Stood Still. And had him do these altars of them using those movie posters. But this figure in the center is from the original card, that creature. And so you have this creature from the original card, but everything else is hand-painted on a little easel to imitate.
So he didn't paint it big and shrink
he
it.
took an actual copy of the card, put it on a little tiny easel, and he painted all those little people and all this stuff. It's amazing.
Man, I don't know how these guys paint so small.
I have no idea, but he's incredible. And I have all 3 of these, and they're all in the same style, and they are gorgeous. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So I also, almost all my cards, there's only 1 of, but the fetch lands I put 2 of in. We found out that we just need those for those who are Magic. So I've got both your Scalding Tarns for your Delver deck.
Does that mean I shouldn't be using them?
I think you can still do it. And I've got a Bloodstain Marn of Verdant. So I've got a lot of lands. I've got some... Yeah. I've got a Bob. Maybe I'll have to do something. Bob and Misery Shadow. Those together. Let me see what you got over there. Let me put mine over. We'll show everybody what you got. And we'll see. Oh, you've got some combo going on there. So you remember you had... Earlier, you had a Tarka, which is a giant dragon that's hard to cast, and there you've got a natural order.
Is it like a convoke when they cast it, or is that?
No, it's just when it comes into play, it does a bunch of damage to things. So you've got some fun cards. So you've got a Mox Ruby. You've got natural order, which you could build that for. Well, I'll put these all out so people can see. I know that a lot of people don't care about Magic, but I do. So there's your Ulamog. Ooh, Oath of Druids, you can build Note Deck. Oh, look what you got. You got Jace the Mind Sculptor right there. Nice little foil Jace. So you got Jace goes right into Delver. That'd be a good match. You also got another fun card. So this Abeyance, this card.
What is it?
So this card is a weird little card that they in Magic's original. Let's see if I can get this so where people can read it.
Used.
Until end of turn, target player cannot pay. Let's see, I'll read it. Until end of turn, target player cannot play instants, interrupt, sorceries, or active abilities required an activation card cost. Draw a card. So they printed this back in Weatherlight. This is a pretty old card.
Right.
And they've left a line off.
Oh, no way.
They left.
Was it an important line?
It is an important line. So it says you can't activate use abilities that require an activation. That includes tapping, which means that you can't use lands. You can't tap your lands for mana. They didn't mean it to do that. They errated it to say, except mana abilities, right? But in my cube, we play things as written. We play things by how
the Sanderson rules.
By the Sanderson rules. If they misprint a card, we play it in the misprinted way. And so this is basically a time walk. You play it on their turn. They can't tap their mana to do anything. It's
an instant?
It's an instant. So you play it on their turn. They can't untap. They can't do anything.
And it costs 2?
It costs 2, and you draw a card. So that's a pretty good card.
I guess I'm playing a white and red deck.
You might be playing white, red, blue. That goes right in that Delver deck.
I don't
also.
know. I feel like 3-color decks.
3 colors. You'll have to see if you get any dual lands or triomes. That's the thing.
That's always a risky play.
You know they printed three triple tri-lands. They used to have dual lands.
I play Reno, so
oh yeah, you got your tri-lands. So there we are. All right, now we'll get back to the questions so that people can stop being bored who hate Magic.
This next one is from Just a Girl. They say, what do Brandon and Wesley think about people who don't put their Magic cards in sleeves?
I am horrified. I am absolutely horrified by this. I cringe. It's like fingers on a chalkboard. You can do what you want. They are your cards. But it is painful for me.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, like, be free. You know, if you want to be free and those are your cards, be free. Like, there's something to be said about holding actual cards in your hand and not holding sleeves or plastic covers. If you want to play and be free, go for it.
They even feel weird in my fingers. Like when I'm holding them, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna break this. I need to get them
there's definitely like a texture to it that like that I'm used to like touching like these now.
Yeah.
But there's a texture to actual cards that in a way I don't like, to be honest, but I kind of miss when I play.
No, it
just feels like a pure form
that's
of
legit.
play. Yeah, be free. You be you. No. Just don't do it with like expensive cards. Do they have expensive cards anymore?
Do they have expensive cards?
They make so many expansions now.
They do. The Pro Tour drives it. The old cards are still the most expensive. What's a beta Mox Ruby Co for? Someone can look that up. But nowadays, what they do is they'll make. So here's what they're doing. This is really weird. They started hiding in packs numbered versions of cards. It's like the same card, but it's foily and it has number. Sometimes it has an alternate art on it. And it's like there's like 500 of them and you open like number 23 of whatever. So those started going for a lot. Oh. And they're doing a Lord of the Rings expansion, straight up licensed Lord of the Rings expansion. And they're hiding in one pack somewhere a ring.
The One Ring, I've heard about that.
That's one of one. There'll be lots of copies of the ring you can get that aren't that.
Right.
They're mechanically the same, but one of them will have a little 1 out of 1 at the bottom of it. So this is actually kind of a good thing. It means that the people who are crazy about it and want to chase the really expensive card.
How do you chase one card though?
I don't know. It'll go up for auction, I guess.
I mean, yeah,
I wouldn't buy that one, but I do have some.
It's like buying a lotto ticket because once you get it, you're going to be good for a while.
But this drives the price of all the other cards down a little bit,
right?
Because a pack is worth a certain amount, and there's a certain expected value in that, and so. If the value goes into these really high chase cards, the rest of the cards get cheaper.
Right. I mean, I just can't. I mean, I can't but think like there's expansion every 3 months. How do you keep up? I mean, I can't keep up.
You play Magic or you play other games, right?
Fair.
And I don't even really keep up that much. I keep up well for someone who is not a pro, but it means that I draft each new set like once. Right?
Yeah.
We have our draft night with our company, and if we really like the set, we'll do it a second time.
Right.
And that's all we can do. But granted, as I've said on live streams before, Wizards of the Coast, you need to be sending me stuff because look at me, the shill for Magic the Gathering, where they're not even sending me any stuff because I talk about it all the time. So you have your free shill. You should pay your free shill with stuff.
You can't get better advertisement.
Yeah.
Seriously, yeah.
I want like a giant poster or something. Send me a poster.
Get him a pony.
Yeah, a pony. Ooh.
Yeah.
Dwarven pony from Fallen Empires. No, Homelands. I only know that because I've been looking through that. There's actually a card called Dwarven Pony.
What is it? Like a 0-1?
It's a 1/1 and it like gives a dwarf mountain walk or something like that.
That is a terrible card.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Somebody thought we're gonna waste some paper. We're gonna kill some trees and make a card that's a 1/1.
All these old sets were just being made by people who were friends of Richard Garfield. He's like, I need Magic sets. They're selling so well. They're like, all right, I can come up with something. So.
And your Beta Mox Ruby was about 26,000.
26K. So that's what a Beta Mox Ruby goes for these days. Mine's a little worn, so it won't be the top tier price.
You can buy a Prius. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't check condition on that card.
Yeah.
That was just from a site.
Usually the ones I'm buying are like $1,000 or $2,000 cheaper just because I want it's not the money, it's the fact that if I'm going to play with it, I don't want to take a really nice one and make it a little worse.
Right.
I'd rather just take one that's already in the middle values and play with it.
I mean, that's one of those cards you're going to frame up, put on the side, make a copy of it maybe, and use it as your proxy.
Yeah. I might actually eventually do that. Is proxy all of these just because people want to see them when they come.
Absolutely.
They're like, where? And I'm like, oh, they're all stacked in the cube somewhere. And they're like, you just sit and play with them? Yeah, I just sit and play with them. But anyway, non-Magic question.
Simply Stating says, these questions are to both of you. What or who is your greatest inspiration for writing fantasy? Also, what do you love most about it?
My greatest inspiration, huh? Well, Wesley Chu. It's my greatest inspiration. I don't know if I have a greatest inspiration. Robert Jordan is up there, and so is Anne McCaffrey, two of the authors I read when I was young. Guy Gavriel Kay. That's kind of one of my I I would have to name 5 because I'd have to put Melanie Ron in there because that's where I learned magic systems.
I feel like, like every author we read growing up brought something to the table.
Right, became part of it.
Margaret Weissman in the Dragonlance books, Robert Asprin and the way he wrote comedy. For me, I mean, I don't know if they're the greatest, but I would say, back to that story when my dad took me to the university bookstore to learn English, and I ran to the sections with the dragons, with the kids' books and everything. I picked out 2 books.
Yeah.
One was a glowing sword.
Okay. Was that the blue sword?
It was the Misenchanted Sword by Lawrence Walt Evans.
Okay.
Okay, which was a perfect book for like a beginner reader for me.
Yep.
And the second book was a picture of a manticore. And the guy talking to him.
Oh no! You're gonna mention he who should not be named, aren't you?
I'm gonna look. I got up to book 18, so that was definitely a very influential part of my reading.
He is still doing his newsletter. Have you read it?
I have not. I mean, good for him. But I mean, I will say it was. Can I say it?
Yeah.
It was A Spell for Chameleon by Piers Anthony.
Piers Anthony.
And I love those books. I mean, yes, they got a little, weird later on, but
here's the thing, Wes. I read his blog. He's a delightful man.
Yeah, he is.
Knows a lot about the industry. Was an inspiration to a lot of us.
Yeah.
They started weird. That's the truth. I think the free love hippie '60s had an influence on science
as a
and
kid,
fantasy.
I didn't know that.
We didn't know that.
We didn't know that.
The Spell from Chameleon is real weird.
You know what? If I reread it, I'm
Yeah.
sure I would have catched that, but I did not catch it as a kid. I just thought it was delightful magic, and it was so punny, and it was like, but I don't know, maybe I should have started from Dan Simmons or something.
No, it happens like it's this weird thing where so many people read Piers Anthony when they're young.
Yeah.
And then there's an age, it hit me when I was about 17, maybe 18. When you're reading one, you're like, is this creepy? Wait.
It is, yes.
This is kind of creepy.
Yes. I had the exact same feeling.
I don't think Piers Anthony himself is, right? He comes from a culture back then, like I said, the free love 60s, where some things were just not quite right with
And he's been
consent.
trapped in that time period ever since.
And like consent and sexualization of children and things like that, that just culturally as part of storytelling,
Right.
I think we have grown beyond.
Absolutely,
And
I mean, look, these aren't books that I'm gonna push my kids to read.
Nope.
For sure. But I mean, I remember the exact book that I was reading that I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Something feels a little off here. The name of the book was sorry.
Yes, you could say
It's called The Color of Her Panties.
Yes, that's the name of one of his books.
That was the name of the book that I was like,
Wait, is this creepy?
Is this creepy?
This might actually be creepy. Yeah.
I don't think I should be reading this book anymore.
Yeah. So anyway,
but as
like
a kid,
I said,
no,
I respect Piers Anthony.
Yeah.
I still read his blog. It seems like a perfectly delightful gentleman.
Yeah.
But I mean, it happens. I've talked about it before. Like even Empire Strikes Back. There's that scene where Han backs Leia into a corner and like takes her hand and is like, "You really like me," and that was seen as masculine.
Right.
And that's like, admirable quality in the 80s, where
for
now
a
we're
man.
like,
that would get you, canceled.
no, well, deservedly, right?
Yeah.
Like that is not, and so let's just say we as a culture have done better.
We've evolved.
Yes.
We've evolved, and look, things are always going to change, and like the stories that we think are okay now might not be okay in 10 years.
might not be.
They might not be, and it just times change, people change, and
I have changed.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so yep. There we are. That's what we'll say.
That's
No ill will or shade thrown toward one of the greats of the fantasy
yeah.
genre.
This next question is from Business Infamous 265 for Wesley.
All right, Business Infamous.
How was it working with Cassandra Clare?
Cassandra Clare is a delight. She's a delight. She is the queen of her world. She knows exactly what she wants. And when you are in her sphere, especially when you're playing in her sandbox, her world, I mean, you are going to kind of, you're going to do it right because that's what she expects. A delightful thing about her is she knows her characters and her fan base is so well that, it's her characters. It's a continuity thing almost. Like especially when I'm playing in her sandbox, she's gonna let me know when this is not how this character is gonna be like, and then once you go back and kind of research the character's past, you can kind of see that path. It was an amazing experience working with her. I was never really a romance writer before, but after I came out of that experience, I was like, I can write romance. At one point I wrote a 6-page romance scene in the Walking Dead book, and the Walking Dead guys were like, "This is the Walking Dead," and I'm like, what else are you gonna do when you're in the apocalypse? But it was such a great learning experience. I mean, I felt truly blessed, being able to play in that sandbox.
I've only met her once, I believe, maybe twice, and she was, as you said, delightful.
Yeah, really delightful.
This next question is from Joffwa for Wes. They say, it was nice to meet you at JordanCon.
JordanCon,
you're fine, don't
I'm
worry.
totally gonna pick JordanCon. It's such an amazing experience. I've been to hundreds of conventions, and there are a few cons that make me feel just such a friendly fan base who love fantasy, who love Wheel of Time, who love reading. It was such an amazing experience.
They're really good authors.
They are. I had such a good time.
The question is, if you could collaborate with Brandon on an idea of your own, what would you pick?
We'd have to give you the list of bad story ideas that Dan and I came up with, see if you can make any of them good.
Brandon and I should write opposing sides in a sprawling, massive science fantasy.
There you are.
Okay.
Yeah, two different kingdoms.
Two different kingdoms. We are going to sit down and get some main plot beats together. But then we're gonna write it from opposing viewpoints, where one good thing from one side is a bad thing for the other, and this is why, this is what's gonna happen, this is how the battle's unfolded. Even though it looks like it's this way for you, this is how it felt for us on this side.
It's not a bad idea. I've actually had a pitch similar to that sometimes in the past, where you know how you have co-authors that are like such and such and such and such,
Yeah.
where you write it as such and such versus such and such.
Yeah.
The best way to do something like that would be to call up George and be like, "Hey, George Martin, we need a referee. You need to tell us who we rewrite these at the end. You need to tell us who wins.
Who wins?
Yeah.
We'll write 5 separate endings.
Problem is you can't involve George in anything without his fan base getting righteously upset with you. And so
his time is precious.
yes, his time is precious. So,
But when you're ready,
but he
Brandon,
loves to do editorial. That's the thing about George, is he loves being an editor.
I mean, editorial is fun if you get to a certain point in your career where you're no longer in the trenches, you're no longer drafting, you're no longer sitting there agonizing over a sentence.
Yeah. Well, he likes to put together his anthologies.
Yeah.
That's what Wild Cards is.
That's what he's all about right now.
Yeah.
It's just
He loves his anthologies, and he's a good editor.
Yeah.
I've been in one of his anthologies, and he's, as you might imagine, really sharp and knows his stuff. So, anyway, it's a back of our minds idea for someday.
Yeah.
This one is from World Hoppers Podcast. They say, we've heard a bit about how Brandon goes about solving problems in his writing when they come up in the drafting process. But I'm curious as how Wesley goes about it. And if you two can compare and contrast how different methods could work for different types of writers.
So I don't actually know Brandon's kind of the way he outlines. I don't know if he's a plotter or a pantser. I'm a heavy plotter. I think I pants the Lives of Tao, but ever since that very first book, I've plotted every book since. Certain books, the ones I co-wrote with Cassandra Clare, I gave her okay, here's a 25,000 word outline. Here's my process. Tell me what you think. These days, the problem I have with being a heavy plotter and having really detailed outlines is I'm also a big believer in giving my characters free will. Free will is important, and there's times when I want the character to make a left turn, but he wants to make a right, and the organic feeling is they should go right. Okay, so, and the question is, what do you do? And many times when I'm, so these days now, when I make these decisions where the character does not want to do what I want them to do, kind of messes up my drafting process, I let them make the wrong choice. I let them make the choice they want to make, and instead of trying to like steer them towards making the choice I want them to make, I just re-outline. And so what happens is by the time I finish a book, I'll have like outline versions like 8.5 or 9.3, because every time they make a decision that changes the outline, I re-outline from that point on and move forward.
It's very similar for me.
Oh,
Yeah.
fantastic.
So you kind of told them what I've said before.
Oh.
That's probably really common for us plotters.
Right.
Yeah.
This next question is from Grandpa. For both authors, which Disney princesses would your main characters most identify with?
Well, Kaladin would want to paint with all the colors of the wind, right? Obvious low-hanging fruit. That's a pretty low-hanging fruit, and I don't know if that's actually a good match. We're gonna get a lot of Mulan, aren't we? From my, like warriors. I'm writing a lot of soldiers.
I refuse to go Mulan.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So my main character is an older one-armed woman.
Okay.
Who's like a grandmother and
Yeah.
who's extremely crotchety. So I don't know if there's any Disney princess. Is there any crotchety Disney princesses?
Crotchety Disney princesses, Meg,
Meg from
Hercules.
Oh yeah, I Meg is not a bad option. And
Yeah,
originally,
Meg's pretty crotchety.
who's Elsa's sister again?
Oh, and Anna?
Anna's kind of crotchety, isn't she?
No,
Or she's just kind of worrying.
Elsa's Elsa's the crotchety one.
Elsa the crotchety one?
Yeah.
Isn't she the older sister?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I would go with Elsa and Meg. But
Okay.
is Elsa crotchety?
She kind of is, and she's the one that gets grumpy and then leaves and goes off and like.
She's like a teenager. I mean, she's kind of impulsive and like.
That's
Anna.
Anna.
Anna is the impulsive one.
Yeah, Anna's the impulsive one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I got my princesses mixed up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's actually do a magic set back. Let's see what we got here. See what if I can open. You've got power. See if I can open any power.
Did you just make up a card here?
What's that?
Starburst.
No. Oh, Starburst. I'll tell you about in a second. Ooh, you got
Opponent
Starburst.
loses next turn for 2 mana. I'm playing this card.
You should play that card, but here, pass it over. They're gonna wonder what it is. All right. So I actually have the actual one of these. Richard Garfield. Let's bring him down so that people can see. So Richard Garfield, when he designed Magic, he printed off on like a home printer back in the late 80s, early 90s. He printed off Magic the Gathering, his playtests, and he had all his friends playtest it with him. And you can buy these playtest cards. Oh, you got that. Now that's special too.
Is this?
I'll tell you about that after. So you got the one of the most precious gems in my collection there. You actually got 2 of them. So one of the cards was named Starburst, and it was a red time walk that said you can make your opponent skip their next turn. But he wrote it as opponent loses next turn. So people kept saying you lose the game, and playing it you lose the game, when it's really just they skip their next turn. And after playtesting, he pulled it out of the set. But I bought the actual little playtest card.
Oh, you did?
The actual
the OG card?
The OG that he had from his printer.
Jeez.
I bought one of those. And then I had Mark Teeden, who is one of the original Magic artists, do artwork for it, as if he'd been assigned that job way back when. If that card had gone into the set.
You didn't draw on the actual card, did you?
What's that?
You didn't draw on the actual card?
No.
Okay,
The actual one's actually, it's smaller than the Magic card. It's like, it's just like a printed off piece of cardboard.
Oh, okay.
Like it's like cardstock.
Funny.
With it. I've got that upstairs. I can show you that.
That's amazing.
So we have that out. That's even too fragile for my cube. And then I had Mark Teeden paint me a proxy, as if he had been given the job back in '93 to paint a Starburst card. And so that's what this is.
Okay.
So even this is kind of cool and valuable, but it's not that. This right here. So this is. I run 2 Black Lotuses in my cube. One is just a beta Black Lotus, the B Money Black Lotus for those who pay attention to those things. I should move these over so people can see. But one is way back when, maybe 6-7 years ago, maybe a little longer, Christopher Rush, the original artist of the Black Lotus, contacted me through some friends and said, hey, I have a gift for Brandon. I've really enjoyed his books. I'd like to give it to him. And I'm like, Christopher Rush knows who I am. And so we went and had dinner. And he hand-painted this Black Lotus for me on a collector's edition Black Lotus.
Nice.
And just painted a hand-done Black Lotus and gave it to me as a gift. And then he passed away a few years later. And so...
what does the text say?
It says the same Black Lotus text. And so... this is one of the gems of my collection because it was hand painted by the artist for me as a gift, and then he soon after passed away. But so you've got those two. So you've got a Lotus. I've got at least a Mox Pearl. I think I'm falling behind on maybe what I've got versus what you've got. But we'll see. We'll see if I can do something.
Okay,
with this.
because I don't know what most of these cards do. So.
I'm getting a decent amount of artifact support, so maybe I'll be doing an artifact deck. We'll have to see. Good old Lion's Eye Diamond. Going to be hard to find something to do with that.
Oh my
but
gosh,
we'll see.
I remember this card, Force Field.
Force Field. Oh, Force Field.
Oh, yeah.
That one's got a painting on the back too. Yeah. So that one is what's on the back of Force Field? It's not Icy. It's is it Howling? No, it's Mana Flare. Mana Flare.
Oh yeah, it is Mana Flare.
Yeah, pass that over. People want to see that. So this is one of these double-faced cards that I made where I got an artist proof of Force Field, beta Force Field there, and I had a hand-painted on the back Mana Flare. So this is Dan Frazier himself, the man who did all the Moxes, and all my signets in this are his signets as well.
So. I have to say, I think you really are the #1 Magic fan I've ever met.
I don't know. Post Malone usually can out Magic, or at least outspend me.
I mean, okay. That's
yeah,
fair. That's
he
fair.
tends to. Anytime there's some cool card that I want, Post Malone ends up buying it.
Post Malone outbids you in the auction.
Yeah. So, and Post has his own cards that they printed. Oh wait, yours stay over there. That's right. Yeah.
Okay.
They printed cards for Post with his face on them and stuff. Like they're versions of the cards, except there's like one's called Bullet Citadel. It's now called Post Citadel.
Have you ever contacted him? Just be like, yo, Post, work with me here on these cards here. We don't need to bid against each other on all these cards, man.
You know,
Let's
I've
figure
never
this out.
met him. He has a house up in Park City here, and he sometimes goes to like Magic events and things like that. And so someday I hope to see him.
I mean, there's just got to be a way Brandon Sanderson can have his people talk to Post Malone's people and figure it out.
Everyone says he's just delightful to talk to and hang out with. So
I feel like most people who play Magic are delightful.
Yeah. That's we'll just say
we are delightful people.
We're delightful people. So, but yeah, someday I'll meet. We'll maybe invite Post to one of our drafts or something at the house. See if he wants to come.
And I think that says a lot about what Katie Payne just said in the chat.
What'd she say?
Yu-Gi-Oh! Forever.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Forever. Oh, we know those Yu-Gi-Oh! players.
This next question is from Christopher Williams. How do you come up with interesting new races? When do you know that you should consider creating a new race rather than using one that people are familiar with?
Yeah.
I mean, like I've made like alien races and everything, and for the most part, I don't start with like the species or the race. I have a high concept that I want to follow, and then I create the main characters that I think should drive the story, and then everything else just kind of evolves around them. Like whenever I create like a race or a species of living things. It's all about like nothing exists in isolation. Creatures don't exist in isolation. So if a creature is a certain way, something must have made them that way. Then I kind of pull back and go to the world building. What is this world like? So it's not something that I could just create unless they are integral to the plot, and then I work around that.
Yeah, I usually start with the world building too.
Yeah.
I'm going to build up from the world building and say, what would a sapient race that lives on this world be like? What's going on with the cosmology that would end, or the natural selection and evolutionary process that would create this sort of creature? And I kind of go there. I do use one, though, of the standard races, which is dragons, right? They haven't appeared a lot in my books, but I dig dragons. I think they're cool.
Dragons are cool.
And so I actually built one of the ecologies of my early books that didn't get published around the idea of, well, what would lead to dragons and what other evolutionary strains would be on a planet that had dragons, and kind of built all around that.
Okay. I have never written dragons. I don't think. Have I? No, I have not.
Does Art of Prophecy have any non-human sapient races? Or
Not sapient.
Okay.
So I mean, I use a lot of like Chinese mythology creatures that are cool, that are fun, whatever. But when it comes to like, there's no elves or dwarves or like, at least not intelligent ones in terms of like,
right.
with their own civilizations.
Right. So yeah, you're using kind of mythology and things like that, and yeah, cool.
This next question is from Kimzal. Have Brandon's opinions on animated adaptations changed following some big shakeups in the industry, such as Cyberpunk getting an animated spinoff, which put the game on top of Steam's charts for weeks on end?
My opinion is shifting. It's basically got to be the culture's opinion that shifts, right? The question I will respond to you is, I would be much. The time where I'm really eager to do it is when your mom, without having to be, told to or forced to, is watching the animated adaptations of these things, right? Like, my mom has seen Marvel movies. My mom has seen Lord of the Rings. My mom has not seen Edge Runners, right? My mom's not going to watch Edge Runners. My mom's not going to watch Arcane. And I hope that cultural shift happens. But at this point, it still hasn't. And because of that, the things that have tried really hard have ended up flopping.
Right.
Right. Like, I think you haven't seen one of these in a while, but either you have to do animated for kids that also is secretly for adults, like Last Airbender.
Okay.
Or you have to do hard for niche audience,
like Arcane and like Critical Role
and stuff like that. There's not a middle ground animated big budget thing going on right now. And maybe we'll get there. I hope we will, because there's lots of fantastic stuff around the world that does that.
I mean, I think like when it comes to like, like the film industry chases what they think people like, and and then the thing is, it's also a copycat industry.
It is. It's self-fulfilling.
So you need something that sparks. I mean, like Game of Thrones, kicked off, 100 fantasy IPs.
Yep. It's
so
just everyone who's tried to do this, it has flopped, and it's basically kind of killed the IP. Right, like you're not seeing Treasure Planet, or you're not seeing Titan AE, or any of these other sort of animated that was intended for teens and adults kind of thing. They just completely kill franchises.
So the question is why? Like what is it? Because the showrunners can't quite strike that balance?
I'm not sure. Like.
Is it the source IP?
I think that if I risk when I answer this question, and I'll tell you all the answers, I risk not knowing enough to give an educated answer.
Okay.
So I can give what maybe thoughts that have popped in my head, but I'm not deeply part of this industry. I think that there's a difficult age where historically I can see myself in this age, where a teen does not want to be treated like a kid.
Right.
And anything that reminds them of what is considered kid stuff
or childish,
becomes anathema.
Right.
And I can remember that age myself, where you're so insecure about your adulthood and your maturity that any questions of it must be squashed. And because of that, you can go to Lion King because it's a kid's movie. I'm going with my little siblings to watch The Lion King, but then you can secretly love it. But when it's just for you and you're not taping your siblings, you don't dare go lest you be mocked for being too childish.
I mean, it could also be this is like, these industries love marketing categories.
Yep.
So suddenly, you have something for adult, you're something for kids. Well, what are teenagers? We call them YA, we call them all these things, but they're hard to nail down because kids they evolve differently and they like different things.
But I mean, let's just point out Into the Spider-Verse, which is fantastic.
Yes.
Arguably stronger than most other Spider-Man movies, despite
I would agree with that.
most of the Spider-Man movies being pretty good. But did 1/4 to less
Did it do that?
worldwide? It had like 200 million worldwide compared to 1-point-something billion.
Well, let me ask this: how did it do in the U.S. market compared to?
It's we'd have to look that up.
Yeah.
We can look up, but like the fact that Into the Spider-Verse, which is fantastic, like that's the perfect example of what I would want in like a movie that is targeted, at all ages. It stars a teen protagonist, but it really also stars a bunch of adult protagonists. It is doing really interesting things with animation.
Yep.
The narrative is super strong. The characters are super strong. It's just a fantastic film, and it is just the public does not want that. My fans might, and that might be enough for me to do something like that just for them.
It also costs less to make, a lot less to make than live action. So the question is, I mean, it could still be a runaway success.
It's getting a sequel, so it's
Yeah.
considered a success. But at the same time, like, what do we got?
So it is the bottom.
Yeah.
At 190 million lifetime gross. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was just above it at 202. Then we have a $60 million jump to The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
But comparing it to the most recent one, Spider-Man No Way Home, that was 805 million.
Okay,
lifetime
so
gross.
But that was a good
1/4.
movie. That was a great movie.
It is. No Way Home's a great
Yeah.
movie. All of those have been good
solid.
movies, but
And that
No
also
Way Home's
did-
my favorite of them.
And that also did twice what the one before that did, which was
Yeah.
just Spider-Man at 400 million. So that-
Spider-Man. The first Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
Spider-Man's the first Sam Raimi. So, yeah. So anyway, Spider-Verse, like, maybe you're right. Maybe I need to be the person that takes a chance, and the fans are asking for it, so maybe I will. But there's that voice in the back of my head that says the general public isn't ready for it yet, and I want to do it when I want to give the public something that they will. Yeah.
I mean, I would say this is like there are people who just don't watch animated.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, I think maybe at least personally for me, the last 10 years, I stopped watching like animation after college. And it was until that last 10 years when like I started watching more animation again, and then like I don't remember seeing like, Arcane, something like Arcane ever before until like the past few years.
I mean, Last Airbender is.
Yeah, I never got into that.
Yeah.
That was one of those like I thought
haven't
it was a kid thing. I wasn't
either,
sure.
But
I had
every
no
episode
kids.
I've seen is fantastic.
'Cause I have no kids, so that's like for me as an adult with no kids.
Yeah.
How would I get myself exposed to that unless I loved anime or loved that and then
Did you see Your Name?
no.
Oh, see Your Name. Don't research anything on it. Just see it.
Your Name?
Your Name. It's called Your Name. Not Call Me by Your Name, which is a different movie. Just a movie. It's Your Name.
Your Name. Y-O-U-R name?
Yeah, Your Name. It's anime.
Okay.
It's a film. Just watch it.
Okay.
Just comes with my highest recommendation.
Okay.
That I can give to a film.
That and Speed Racer, huh?
That and Speed Racer. This one, Speed Racer, is not universally acclaimed. It's like me and a handful of grumpy people on the internet yelling at everyone else that it's good. Your Name is universally acclaimed.
Okay.
So I'm not the only one.
Gotcha.
We should open another pack of these cards. We got 3
And while
left.
you're doing that,
Yeah.
if you didn't know this, Brandon, Taylor is also in your court on the Speed Racer. I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
if you knew that.
Taylor, our Taylor, like
Yeah, our Taylor. Yeah,
Taylor's
Taylor Hatch.
Taylor's there. Yeah.
Hatchling, as I like
Top
to call him.
5. Nice. I said I would probably put it in my top 10 films.
I mean, you did say top 10, so
Yep.
that's it was definitely a unicorn.
Ooh, I've got one of these too. I've got they don't have it up yet. I've got one of the Klug.
Like this one?
Yeah, we got all 3 of them. Oh,
Nice.
we'll be able to show them off. Okay, there it is. So here's my Emrakul, which is just so wonderful.
Yeah, whenever you need it. Yeah.
And Wes is gonna run off for a pit stop. Ooh, I got a library of Alexandria. One of the fun things is, because I do, for those who like magic, you get the packs. I can do Final Fortune and put in a few enablers, and then you can actually use Final Fortune, which would be, it's a very dangerous card to play. Let's just say that. But make these so you can see them. But yeah, so we got a Final Fortune. We got a Rite of Flame in case I'm stupid and want to try Storm. You do get a pack of 4 Rite of Flames in my cube, and so 4 Rite of Flames makes it potentially possible if you can do that. So yeah, one of the more busted cards in my cube. This is Gaia's Will, which you don't even really need to read the text. It's a suspend 4 for 1 green, but on the back of it, it has a overwhelming insight, which is target player draws 7 cards. So it's like a super ancestral visions. So far, it has not been too busted because the cube is so fast that suspend 4 is still a pretty big cost, but it is pretty busted. Why don't you hit me with a question?
That I can do.
Mm-hmm. Well, they all bask in the beauty of my Klug altered Emrakul.
Yeah, I'm trying to find one that's. Well, I guess Wes is coming back, so I'll ask this one.
Well, I want to
cards.
show off some of the other cards. Yeah. You got a couple of cool ones in there.
Underground Sea, I love that.
You got our Underground Sea.
OG. I used to have 400 dual lands at one point.
400. Nice.
They were like $5 a card.
They were
cheap.
I can remember when they were $20, and I'm like, oh, it's kind of
I
expensive.
used to ante with them, and we play a game with ante, you know.
Yeah, ante dual land.
That was the thing.
How much is Beta Underground Sea right now?
I will check.
Yeah. So you got Underground Sea, Time Spiral. So this is a fun one to talk about, this accumulated knowledge. So when I visited Wizards of the Coast, I got to go visit it at some point, and I got to tour the pit, they call it, where all the R&D works. And Mark Rosewater was there. And he's like, oh, hey, author man. And I chatted with him. He's like, what's your favorite Magic set? And one of my favorite Magic sets is Odyssey. It's a set that kind of...
When did that come out?
It came out in late 90s.
Okay.
And it's not as well beloved by a lot of people as it is by me, but it made me think about Magic in a different way. Right. I won't go too much in the story. So he ran, and he got me a playtest card from Odyssey, an accumulated knowledge. And that's what that is right there. You get a pack of 4 accumulated knowledges, and the only one of them is the actual playtest card that Mark Rosewater, but he signed it for me, and it went right in my cube. And it's actually a pretty decent card. There's the Kozilek. So now you've seen all 3 of the Eldrazi Titans. This one is Forbidden Planet. I know that movie poster pretty well. Forbidden Planet, great movie. It's The Tempest, but science fiction-y.
How often do you update your cube?
Every 3 years, I do a big update. Ooh, you got the Force. You've got a pretty good Delver deck, actually.
I'm gonna win, huh?
Well, because you get a pack of 4 Delvers, and you got Force and Censor. And Kiki Jiki the Mirror Breaker. That's a card you're familiar with.
That card needs to get rotated out.
The card people are complaining about. But
that and the track. I cannot stand the track, so. That card is ridiculous.
Yes, but you've got one for your Delver deck. You throw in, if you just need to get a lightning bolt of some sort. If you can get some bolts, you're going to be in good shape. Because you got Delvers, you got Kiki Jiki, and you got some counter spells over here. So you're looking pretty good.
All right.
I'm not sure what I can even build out of mine.
The value on the Beta Underground Sea.
Yeah.
There's one for 6,000, but in 9.5 is 28,000.
Okay, so 6,000 would be what I would what mine were costing and things like that. So if you had 400 of those, but you also could have bought Apple stock. There's a lot of things you could have bought.
There's a lot of things
in the 90s.
In hindsight, yes. I could have done. Yes.
Yes. If you have a time machine, you probably have better things to do than to tell yourself not to buy Magic cards.
You're not selling those cards. And iPhone came out in 2006, right? So all you had to do is buy, $10 Apple stock a few years before.
Yep. Yeah. If you're a nerd, you may have thought at some time, man, if I had a time machine, I could go back and say, buy up all the magic cards. And then you have to stop and think, is that really what I would do with the time machine?
I mean, it's like,
I'm
who
gonna
won the
break-
Super Bowl that year? Let's figure that out.
Yeah.
How about
I'm gonna,
Bitcoin?
I'm going to break causality in order to get some extra magic cards. Maybe the right thing to do would be.
I mean,
yeah.
look, a question I've always had, like when people ask, is like, what superpower would you have? If you could pick any superpower.
Yeah.
And every time somebody asks me that, I mean, you can't be like the super powerful Magnetos
Yeah,
or
you
whatever.
can't just-
You
okay.
need like a basic power,
Basic power.
But every time anybody ever asks me that, I always frame it like, how do I make the most money out of this?
That's interesting because I waver between two powers.
Okay.
The smart power and the cool power. Flying for me is the cool power. Just being able to fly would be so much fun.
That's so basic.
It is basic, but
Basic.
but what is realistically, you probably should take something like Wolverine's healing factor, so you double your lifespan and can never be killed by normal means. That's probably the smart choice, right?
I mean, like for example, I was like, well, if I had like Storm's power, I could get paid to water crops.
Yeah, you could get paid to water crops.
Is a hurricane coming? I'm gonna stop it. It's gonna cost you. I'll send you my bill.
And when you're dead in 50 years, and I'm sitting there at a
mean,
bar,
that
they're
is-
trying to recruit me for the X-Men.
That is true. That is.
Then
Yeah, Brandon, you'll just invest in Storm's company stock.
yeah, I mean, if you're gonna live for 200 years, you can invest. Yeah.
I was so short-sighted. I was like, well, what if I had a superpower where I can weigh whatever weight I want, and then I would become like a huge dude and fight like a flyweight boxing. That's how petty.
I'm going back and being like, buy Black Lotuses, and you're like fixing fights.
fixing boxing
What
fights.
neither of us are saying is like, let's go back and prepare the world for COVID. I know, right?
Let's feel good in the world. No. I'm gonna make.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be flyweight champion.
This next question is from Slamithus Maximus. Have either of you played Tears of the Kingdom yet?
So Wes has a story about this.
I just bought a Nintendo Switch, like last week, because if my kid's birthday is coming up in a month, and it's time. It's time for them to get a Switch and play consoles like we did. So if you get a Switch and then I joined like the Nintendo Online membership, you can get like 2 games for like $100. So my 2 games were Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And I just finished Elden Ring, so it's kind of like I'm ready for the next that type of game. So on the plane ride here from LA to Salt Lake City, I played
That long, arduous plane
2.5 hour
Yeah.
flight. I could not find 2 of the 4 beginner shrines because I'm in the plane and I had no internet. Okay, I don't know how we did it back in the day. Before the internet, how do we beat
You
games?
talk to your friends.
Talk to your
Yeah.
friends. You buy those Nintendo Power books.
Yeah, I had a Nintendo Power subscription.
Well, me too.
Yeah, like you'd get at the map that they would put in there, and you just hang it.
It
out.
was like gold.
Yeah. So I have not yet played Tears of the Kingdom, but I have a fun story for you with this. Do you guys know that meme where the guy's like this, and he's like, "I have an offer for you. You receive, I receive." Right? Like, I'm down working whatever day it came out, Friday or Thursday, and I hear a knock at my door just on the side because it's a cloth drapes. But then I'm like, yes. My 15-year-old son comes in and he goes like this.
I have an offer for you.
He says, I have an offer for you. And he knows that my Switch is broken. This is what happens. Be careful when you have young children who play the Switch a lot.
Okay.
But he bought one for himself with his allowance money a year or so ago. But he doesn't have enough money left. So he comes and says, here's the deal. If you want to play Tears of the Kingdom, you're going to need my Switch. If I'm going to play Tears of the Kingdom, I'm going to need your access to funds. And because he had $40, and it's 70.
It's a $7 game,
yeah.
right.
And so I said, all right, if I can play it on your Switch after you're done, because he takes really good, nice care of his Switch. He doesn't have
But after he's done beating it?
After he's done beating it, then you can buy it. I'll give you the extra money. So he got my $30, my 35 because tax or whatever, and he got Tears of the Kingdom, and they've been playing him and
Wait,
his cousin.
hold up.
Yeah.
You didn't give him the full amount, the full 70. You gave him the difference.
He's playing it first. He gets to play it first.
Man, I mean, look,
It's his game.
I think it was a very good trade for everyone, but the little
You
dude, man,
think a little stingy on mine?
you could have gotten him.
Yeah, where did he
You
get
could have
that?
gotten your dad to pay for the whole thing.
Where did he get that $40?
Sure.
But just point out.
But he can still have the $40 now.
Yeah. Well,
I think you would have caved.
I probably would have.
think you would've caved. I'm
I
just saying,
probably
I'm just
would
saying.
have because he
Next
knows
time.
I want to play it.
Yeah.
And he knows I would have to buy a new Switch.
You should ask for sneakers on top of the Get Tears of the Kingdom and sneakers.
Sneakers? The kids these days, they don't go outside. Why do they need sneakers?
They wear sneakers because it's like a thing now.
That's true. It is a thing.
It's a thing.
It is a thing. And baseball caps, they don't bend the brim. They got to be straight.
I'm the biggest nerd because I still have all mine are like
Yeah.
curved out.
Yeah. Does that drive you up the wall?
I
I'm
feel
like
an idiot.
I'm like, oh, your baseball cap
hey,
looks
you're
bad.
old. And I'm like-
they're like, no, this is Dad. Yours are old and dumb.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Stickers on the bottom and everything.
I don't know if they do that. I think it's just I think do they
just-
still
they
do
just do the-
stickers? I think it's just the straight brim.
Yeah, stickers
is now
are-
the thing. Stickers are still a thing.
Yeah.
Putting them on your hats.
All right.
Wait.
The Key and Peele sketch
What
is
do you
still
What do you
Oh,
mean
yeah.
stickers?
That's dynamite.
the stickers
Like
and
the
like the
authenticity
tags
sticker.
and things.
They
don't
leave it
take them
in?
off. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But that must have been going for a while.
It's been going for a while.
Watch the Key and Peele skit.
All right.
It is the most brilliant thing about they're two guys one-upping each other with how new their hats are.
I can't keep up.
It is my. Do you know who Key and Peele are?
I
Yeah,
do.
My favorite Key and Peele skit. Everyone loves Aaron, which is good.
Yeah.
I actually am quite fond of the East Side West Side. I don't know if you have ever watched that one. You familiar with it? This is the sketch where there are several sports commentators, two sports commentators, and they're introducing the Players Championship, where they're introducing all the players from all the different schools.
Right.
So there's like one from each school, and they have the player come on and say their name and their school. And the names get more and more ridiculous. And they're kind of making fun a little bit of black culture and the naming conventions. And it goes on, they get more and more ridiculous. This one guy's like, his name is, Dolphin Sounds. And he's like, my name's Dolphin Sounds in Tennessee State. And then the punchline at the end is, it's a white guy, and he's like, John Smith, BYU. that's the punchline at the end of this brilliant sketch of all these increasingly, and then BYU gets to make an appearance, and it had me rolling as a BYU alumni. Who knows many a Smith and many a John.
Is John Smith a very common name?
No, it's John. I don't know any John Smiths, but I mean, I have a cousin, John Sanderson, right? And so
I feel like the Johns
and there's a
the
lot of
Paws,
Smiths.
like
Yeah.
the 12 apostle names have kind of fallen out of flavor.
They have though. I mean, my son's an Oliver. Oliver's coming back, and there was an early Mormon apostle named Oliver. So that's one. You see these. It seems like it's like you name people names that sound classy but not old. And so it's like you name people after like your great grandparents' generation, or sometimes your grandparents'
like
generation.
Ethel?
Maybe Ethel hasn't come back yet. Maybe,
I
but
wouldn't be surprised.
I wouldn't be surprised.
At least they're not naming like Khaleesi or anything anymore.
Yeah.
Well,
Alexa.
those people hopefully learned their lesson.
I do meet a lot of Kaladins from Stormlight Archive.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, lots of Kaladins. Decent number of Rands, but that one kind of crosses between libertarianism and Wheel of Time fandom. So some parents, decent number of parents. So where are we time wise?
We have 23 minutes left.
I've been breezing through this.
Should we do another question?
Yeah.
This next question is from Sith Revan 1207.
Ooh, Sith Revan.
let's see,
We may have mentioned KOTOR in our 5 favorites that
Oh,
Wes
yeah.
and I will do. Revan's from Star Wars games.
When did you play that game?
Right when it came out. KOTOR 2 is my favorite, but
Yeah, I think when did that come out? Like early 2000s?
early 2000s, yeah.
That's a long time ago. 20
Yeah,
years ago, man.
right, because they changed to do Mass Effect, as I understand, tell me if I'm wrong, Internet, when they lost the license
Oh, is that what happened?
to Star Wars, and they're like, we want to keep making games like this, using kind of the same idea.
If they hadn't lost the license, would Mass Effect 1
I
been
think
like,
Mass Effect would have been a
Cold
Star
War
Wars
3?
game. Yeah. I think it
would've
would
been
have
pretty
been.
awesome.
And so instead they made Mass Effect. They came up with their own basically science fantasy series and did that. Still have not played Mass Effect 2, the best one in the series. I know. I played Mass Effect 1, and I haven't gotten around to 2.
All of them but the newest one. The newest one.
Oh, Andromeda?
I bounced off that hard.
Everyone says that one's bad.
Really hard.
I have Emily's cousin. Emily's cousin works over there in Texas. So I think they know Andromeda was a bit of a disaster. And you can't blame any one person. I don't think that he was at fault at that, let's just say.
That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Their question basically comes down to what inspired you to take Mistborn and split it into multiple eras?
What inspired me? All right, so I love doing things that I haven't seen done before. And I feel like there's a lot of room to explore the fantasy genre and to do things that haven't been done before, like wushu meets epic fantasy, right? When I was working on Mistborn, I realized that one thing I had seen is like fantasy taking place on the cusp of technological revolution. That does happen. Wheel of Time is that. But what I'd never seen was somebody take a fantasy property, finish it, jump forward in time in that same world.
Was it about 100 years?
Yeah, about 100 years. It was 300 for the first era. Okay. And between the first, and then the next one will be 100 years. And make the epic fantasy like the foundation of myth and religion and all of this stuff for an urban fantasy. And that idea just, it sparked in my brain. I'm like, I have not seen that before. I've seen things like Shannara, where it's like epic fantasy and
300 years later,
secretly,
it's still epic fantasy. And
well, but so Shannara has something cool that they've done where it's and Wheel of Time did this too. You find out the epic fantasy world is our world just in the future, right? Like that's the thing. That was really kind of the kind of cool thing for the 80s and early 90s fantasy. But what I hadn't seen is like, yeah, epic fantasy goes, and then like space travel. I wanted to get to all these wonderful, delightful space operas like Star Wars and stuff would have fantasy eras because the fantasy's still there, the magic's still there. You know, space wizards and space monks is basically what a lot of our cool
Star Wars is.
Star Wars stuff. And I'm like, can I get to Star Wars starting at the epic fantasy and then going all the way straight up to a space
how
opera?
many more trilogies would you need to reach that? Like,
so I planned 3 trilogies.
Okay.
This was 2004 or 2005. Emily was there when I came up with the idea, and so it probably was 2006 because Emily was there. I call my editor and I'm like, I have an idea. I want a trilogy of trilogies. I want past, present, future. Epic fantasy, urban fantasy, space opera. But then the Wax and Wayne books, I found that I needed to write in the Mistborn world in between 2 of these eras because I was working on Stormlight and Wheel of Time, and I wasn't going to be able to get to era 2 as I'd imagined
those are like two
forever.
1,500-page books.
And so I wrote these fast Wax and Wayne books as kind of, I originally called them 1.5, but then I just decided to call them Era 2 because it got too confusing. So Era 2 became Wax and Wayne 300 years later, which is, turn of the century 1900s. And then I'm doing the 1980s, which was the original middle trilogy. That's my next project after Stormlight 5.
1980s.
1980s spy thriller Mistborn is where we're going with that. And then I'll do a space opera. The question is, can I squeeze a cyberpunk in, right? Like a near future trilogy and then end us. Because someone smart online pointed out that if I do just one more trilogy, it's 16 books. The magic system's based on 16 because we have...
isn't the time jump from the 1980s to cyberpunk, that's not a huge gap.
It's not. Yeah. It's not a huge gap. But there's a lot of technological revolution
that is true.
Going on.
We are accelerating.
That you can do. And so, anyway. So there's where we are. But that's where the idea came from. Just, I thought of it. I'm like, I haven't seen this before. And since I haven't seen before, I want to do it.
I appreciate you saying Shannara, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Have you talked to Terry?
I have talked to Terry. I used to call it Shannara.
I think the whole world called it Shannara.
Yeah, until you meet Terry, and then he says Shannara, and he's such a nice, sweet man. He doesn't correct you.
Terry Brooks is the nicest guy in publishing.
And then you're just like, I'm just going to call it the way he calls it because...
Well, he's the author.
We've
been doing it wrong all this time.
Yeah. And he is such a beautiful human being.
Gentleman, yeah.
So,
This next question is from Dorito JH for both of you. Which board game is your favorite of all time?
Oh, all time. I don't know about all time because I used to play a lot of Axis and Allies, but more recently I am all about Terraforming Mars.
okay. I've heard of that.
My wife and I got into it during the pandemic, and she's very, very competitive when it comes to board games, and it's basically a resource game. And
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, she's just better at managing resources than me. Running the household, but Terraforming Mars is my thing.
If remember how I said you play Magic or you play other things?
Yeah.
I play Magic, so I don't play a lot of board games.
That's
I do have a couple that I like. They are very not board games. So Dominion, if you give me a choice, I'll probably say, can we play Dominion? Or Sagrada, which I discovered a little while ago, which is a dice rolling drafting game. They've got a nice little app that's fun to play.
Did they ever make a Civ game?
They did. They've made several, but there's one big famous one. And I'd probably be pretty good at that, but it's supposed to be one of these games that takes like 3 days to play and set up and
Who's
stuff.
got time for that?
And I don't know if I have time for that. So, but it would be fun to see. I wonder if my knowledge of the Civilization series would be a help or a hindrance. If I would expect things to work like they do.
They got to like narrow it down quite a bit to make a board game out of it.
Yeah.
So my wife got really into the iPad version of it. She loved it.
That was a good game.
It was a solid game, but it was super watered down.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't even say super. It just
They streamlined it.
It streamlined it.
Yeah.
Civilization Revolution is what they called it. I enjoyed it. Like, I'm a fan of the series, and I played through a number of games of Civ Rev. So I give kudos to the developers for being able to streamline it but still make it fun.
Have you played like the variations of Civ? Like they had the one where we go go to Mars or go to a different planet.
Alpha Centauri, which is one of the highlights of the series. Yeah, fantastic game. Really like Alpha Centauri. I've liked every Civ game. I've played them all, and Alpha Centauri. But I haven't played Humankind yet, which usually I wait for 4X games to get like a few expansions before I play them. I have played Endless Legend and Endless Space, which are both great.
Those are great.
They really shook up my view of 4X games in a really good way. And I like how they like to make your factions just really distinctive. Right. So you have a different gameplay whenever you play one of them.
Have you ever played the Total War games?
I haven't. Everyone keeps recommending to me. In my head, those were RTSs, not 4X games.
Yes. I mean, they're both. But I would say in my opinion, Total War, Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Yeah, that's the one.
One of the is such a great game.
Yeah, I've also been kind of like, I don't know Warhammer lore that well, so if the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, that'd be a good one.
Great storytelling. You have hero characters, and it's based off of a really basically the first epic fantasy.
Yeah, one of the best known stories of all time.
And they're using the real characters, and it's like I played it nonstop for like 2 years.
Okay,
it's an excellent game.
I will take that recommendation. Yeah. That actually is a easier entry point for me.
Yeah, Total War gets a little because there's so many factions, there's so many armies, so many different ways to play. At least in the Romance of Three Kingdoms, it's a great story first of all, and then then there's nuances with the gameplay, but really, it's such I learned a lot about the story. About history by playing those games.
A little better than Dynasty Warriors for the historical accuracy.
I killed 4,000 men in one afternoon.
This next question is from Nick Smith, 532. Brendan has mentioned the tools he uses while writing Word, but what does Wes use?
I am almost exclusively a Scrivener person.
Okay,
so
one of those,
I've tried Eon Timeline to do some outlining work or chronology work. I've tried other apps to do. I don't have the brain space anymore to learn apps, like to fully learn apps. So it took me a while to learn Scrivener, and I love Scrivener. And then, once I love it for drafting. Once I finish, the main draft, the main order of everything, then I'll export it out to Word. Because then I can have it read out loud. I can change the fonts, so when I do reread it, it reads a little bit more new.
Yeah.
I mean, you can do that in Scrivener too, but just having one big file, having the white background changes how I perceive the document. But big fan of Scrivener.
That's cool. I know a lot of Scrivener people.
What do you use?
Word.
Straight up
Just
Word.
Straight
huh?
up Word. Yeah. Like, it could be anything, right? But
What about your organization? Like, how do you organize your chapters, or do you like is it one huge Word document, or do you?
So I write a chapter, but I always use the document map in Word, which is basically an auto outlining function. And so I will name a chapter, and then I'll heading to it, and then I'll add it to the main document, and it'll be under the subsection where it is. And I name my chapters in draft form after the character and their plot line,
Yeah.
right?
I color code mine, so like
Yeah.
my 4 POVs would be one different color, and
Yeah.
then I would have like.
And so my early drafts, it's like chapter 1. It's, chapter Shalon 2-2-1 or something like that, and things like that. And then I can see them very easily in the document map and move them around and things like that. But
I didn't even know that existed in Word. That's
yeah, if you just name something an outline heading, like you don't let it auto do it for you. You just you put your chapter title in, and then you go to the styles, and you be like, this is heading 2. And then you make a heading at the top of your thing that just says part 1, and name that heading 1, and then heading 2 will be underneath it.
you get like a directory tree on the
yeah,
side or something.
yeah. You can open up.
Okay.
There's a button you can click, and it opens up on the side directory tree, and you can drag chapters around.
Okay,
like
then
that.
that's
So-
basically like why I use Scrivener, basically.
So, but it makes it really easy to if you use the document map. And then I automatically have 2 copies because I save one as the file. I write them in a chapter by itself, and then I put it into the main one, and then both of them are saved, right? So.
Well, would you run into like continuity issues that way if you do that?
No. I never go back to the old one.
Oh,
It's
okay.
just, right? I then work from the main document.
Got it.
Any changes I make to the full document, and then I just have that backup
Got it.
automatically.
Okay.
And we have just about 10 minutes left
Okay.
in the stream.
Maybe let's do like a question or 2 more, and then we'll open our last 2 packs.
Okay.
This one is kind of a related question from that Cosmere chick. Looking for, they say, what is your setup for a successful writing session? For both.
What is
Time
that?
for me.
I mean, honestly, like the first thing that came to mind was like, my kids are in bed.
Yeah.
I mean, like my golden writing time is like 9 o'clock till like midnight, maybe 1 o'clock. I'll try to get some writing done during the daytime, but it's not that successful. But I'm naturally a night writer, and my brain kicks into that kind of like mode when the sun sets, the kids are in bed, and I'm staring at the screen. I'll play a few games of Magic the Gathering Arena, and just get myself into the mood, and then I get to work.
See, if I were playing on Magic Arena, I would just not stop. So that's why I do not do that.
I don't stop a lot, which is a problem. But it's become a procrastinating tool for me, and that's not great. But
Yeah, I need a block of time. It's hard for me to write with 1 hour because I feel like I'm just starting.
do you ramp up? Do you have a ramp up period?
I have definitely a ramp up. If you just watch my word counts, first hour is a fraction of what hour 4 would be, but after about 4 hours, my brain is started to run dry, and so I do 2 4-hour sessions for that reason.
What's your average word count a day if you're just drafting?
Just drafting 2,000 to 3,000.
I mean, that's fairly typical.
Yeah, it's normal. Very normal.
Considering your productivity, that's amazing. Actually.
My productivity is much less about writing speed and more about consistency.
Yeah.
It's being the person who know that I don't let myself get distracted by the video games and things like that, just the scheduling and stuff. And so that's why if I do 2,000 to 3,000 words every day, and I only get to do that 4 days a week, because the 5th day I get to do live streams and interviews and social media posts and talking to agents and all of that stuff. And so that gives me somewhere between 6,000 to 8,000 in a week,
right?
Depending if I get all 4 days, nothing interrupts me, then I'm at around 8,000, which is where I like to be. And because right now that's about 2% on a Stormlight book, which means I can finish it in about a year's hard work.
Do you do a lot of rewriting while you're drafting, or do you get on paper and you move on?
I move on. I do not do that. So I have a lot of time redrafting. I do a lot of work up front, like you do, and then I often have to revise. Spend about as much time revising a book as I spend writing it. Maybe not quite as much, but about an equal portion.
do you outline the whole book now? I mean, because if you're writing like a 450,000 word book, that's a huge book.
I do.
So
but
if you have like a plot change early on,
it snowballs.
Yeah.
And I revise the outline like you do, like you said earlier.
So what I've been doing more recently is I actually don't outline the entire book anymore. Like I know where it's gonna go, but I'll only outline the first act.
Okay.
That way, when I have these big changes happen, I'm gonna spend.
That's not too far off from what I do actually, because what I do when you're talking about the detailed outline, I'll do it by character arc.
Right.
Because oftentimes in these giant epic fantasies, there's character arcs, or sometimes I'll split it into books in my head. So most Stormlight books are kind of like 3 novels in one.
You do one POV at a time?
I will write one POV or 2 POVs. I'll write a viewpoint cluster, people who are together.
Right.
And then I'll get it all the way through, and then I'll come back and do it again. But I only do that in the big books. Small books, I'll write all chronologically. But big books, I got to keep this group in my head and their interactions and their specific needs and write that through, which requires more revision. Because you'll get this and then you'll put them all together and you'll be like, oh, the pacing is way off because of this. Or I didn't realize I was going to jump and not be back to this for as long as I'm now 5 chapters. I thought this was going to be the next chapter. I have to revise the beginning of this to remind everyone where we are. Or it turns out it is the next chapter and you don't need that and that sort of stuff. But anyway, we should let's open our last 2 packs.
Okay.
I think that's our last question, and see if you've got some Delver stuff, and see if I have anything.
Here's a signed card, Mana Confluence.
Oh, Mana Confluence by Howard Lyon. He did Tress of the Emerald Sea for us. He also does Magic cards, so he signed. That's actually got a little sketch on the back.
I have to say, like sometimes when I need like ideas and inspiration, I just look at Magic cards.
Oh yeah.
The artwork is just so great, in terms of like just using it to kind of help like kick off certain ideas.
Ooh, I got a sneak attack.
What's this guy? Look at this really dark card.
What's that? Oh, let me see. Oh yeah, that's one of the San Diego Comic Con cards. I have one in there because they're a little hard to read.
Look at this baby. Oh geez.
You got another piece of power. You got all the power.
I'm just gonna
one.
I'm just gonna time walk you to death.
You got basically 3 time walks because you got the white one, the red one, and the blue one.
If I can't beat you in 4 turns that way, then I deserve
You got
to
a
lose.
Mana Confluence, which taps for 1 mana of any color. So you got one of my my Valentine's Day gifts from my wife. You see a little cherub there.
Oh yep.
They did
the Burrow's Charm.
They did. Yeah, they did
Does she play?
No, she doesn't play. But they do this thing called Secret Lair, where they just do reprints with different distinctive art in Magic these days, and they did one with some little cherubs and Valentine's things. She saw that and bought it for me for Valentine's Day. So I got Paula here. There's the Elite Spellbinder. So he would have been good in your deck.
Hyena Umbra.
Pass over that time walk, so people. Oh, you also got Dark Depths there. So
Get it.
let's see what we got. So time walk, that goes straight in the Delver deck. Dark Depths does not. Visions Beyond is at least a cantrip. A lot of stuff for
Mana Vault.
white in here.
Oh my gosh, Wheel of Fortune. I miss these OG cards.
And there we are. That's what I put them on the side where that light is shining. So this is what Wes opened this time. Apostle's Blessing's actually pretty darn playable in Delver.
Hypnotic Spectre.
It's a
signed Hypnotic.
Oh yeah, look on the back of the hippie.
Like there's so many cards that like springs back memories.
Yeah.
These overpowered cards.
I'll show off my Hypnotic Spectre there. Pass that along.
Icy Manipulator.
Icy Manipulator.
Yep.
We got a Icy Manipulator on the back of a Hypnotic Spectre. Yep. So this one's actually a Doug Schuler card right there. So he did a really nice Icy for me on the back of this Hypnotic Spectre. So that makes me happy.
Oh, Rock Egg.
So there we are. I should open my last pack because you're opening yours. So Rock Egg we play is written also, but
was that a typo?
No, it just says if it goes in your graveyard, you get a rock. They added that to say if you discard it or if it dies. But
was that one of Arabian Nights?
It was Arabian Nights,
Yeah.
and we all played it back in the day. That if you discard it, you get a ruck. So, oh look, I got Comet Stellar Pup. I got Space Doggo.
Is that an actual card?
That's an actual card from their silly sets. Oh, I got Power. And here we go.
Oh, there you go.
We got an
Ancestral
Ancestral.
Recall. There we go.
And I got 2 Power in a row. I got a Jet as well. And the good professor himself, Richard Garfield, PhD. And
Well, and just like Zeth would do,
yeah.
I think Brandon accidentally put the really dark card Wesley gave him into his deck.
Oh, I might have. Oh, yeah. No, I stacked them over here, and I think.
That's Wesley's right there.
Yeah, these are all Wesley's. Though, nope, they're right. I ended up with it. It's not very good in his deck, but I think I did end up stealing one of his cards.
Thanks
Yes,
for looking out for me,
There you
Zach.
are. They're watching my sleight of hand. Richard Garfield.
And for those who are
PhD.
asking what they're going to be doing, they're probably going to mess around and play a little game after the stream is
after
over.
the stream.
We'll probably record something.
Maybe record
We
something.
might
yeah.
record it. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see if we come up with so. There's our decks or our sealed pools. We have to figure out something to do with this. By the way, another nice little Mark Teaton. We'll just put it there. There's a winter orb on the back of.
He's trying to it's up now, Brandon.
yeah, just a minute. Let me get this flipped around. It's a fireball that he altered to also be a chaos orb, and it has a winter orb on the back with the little pup in the background there. So one of my favorite little cards there. Mark Teaton is delightful. We've been saying a lot of people are delightful. Mark Teaton is
A
one
lot of people
them.
are delightful.
A lot of people are.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us while I sign things and we open cube backs and answer questions.
Yeah.
Wes, thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having me, man.
We did record a 5 favorites, video game-oriented 5 favorites. It'll go up in maybe a month or so. So everybody go buy Wes's books. They are fantastic.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right.